Sills! I'm going to start it right out. Jimmy Johnson, bottom of the hour. Why don't we ask the coach who drafted Emmitt Smith if he would draft Bijan Robinson in the first 10 picks? By the way, I'm going to make a proclamation here. Personally, I think Bijan Robinson's the best player in the draft. But I'll take Myles Murphy. Bijan Robinson is the best player in the draft. And that's by multiple general managers that we've spoken to. But you don't want him. Because it's a running back. Because it's not what we do. Great organizations run by great general managers like Howie aren't conventional. This is not what we do. Well, there's a sandbox that Howie plays in, and you guys have dubbed it Howie Vision, okay? You have a great opportunity. Now that Aaron Rodgers is now in the AFC, by the way, we're going to get into what the word elite means. And I don't believe there's many guys that are elite in the game. I just don't. Here, I'm going to jump right to the topic. By the way, I saw a little bit of those numbers and how it's being projected out on Jalen's contract. And I'll throw this out of the gate right here. What is the definition of the word in the words elite quarterback? I think there's only three. Rodgers, Mahomes, and Burrow. I think there's a lot of players with elite potential. Jalen Hurts is not an elite quarterback. He's not. He's showing elite potential. Josh Allen showing elite potential. Justin Herbert showing elite potential. Kyler Murray showing elite potential. Once you get paid doesn't mean you're the best player in the game. It doesn't. We saw Dak Prescott with that tag forever. It doesn't mean that. Once you get paid, now you have to put an elite resume together. And again, it's no shade on anybody, but what I think we've done, I think we have expanded this elite quarterback conversation to mean more than what some people's resume are saying. It's not a Jalen Hurts attack or a conversation. Once you start talking in the same room of LeBron James or Michael Jordan, those are elite. They're elite athletes with elite resumes. M. Reyes, Hurts is elite of this buds for you, Sills? Look, Jalen Hurts has so many characteristics for being a guy who could be elite. And this is why he's being paid. Remember something, Aaron Rodgers is still the highest paid guy at $60 million. Jets have to pay him 60. I think Jalen's base, though, now, I think his base is more than what Rodgers is. Rodgers is a 4-time MVP. Super Bowl MVP. Had a down year last year, and it's still considered one of the better seasons of anybody who played the quarterback position in a down year. Mahomes is elite with an elite resume. And Burrow's been to 2 straight AFC championships and has taken the Bengals to places that they've not been to in back-to-back consecutive years. Once again, I think sometimes the money clouds the judgment of how we look at that. I'll get more into this topic here, but I'm not throwing the word greatness out like you do or elite out like you do. and filling in something when no one's accomplished really a lot personally. And I'm talking about consistency, being elite every year, year in and year out, every year. That's the words elite quarterback, what they mean to me. Not one season. Again, not a rip on him. And quite frankly, Burrow's got to continue to elevating of his game. Allen's got to continue his elevating of his game. So does Herbert. So does Jalen. They all know this. This is not something that's some gigantic epiphany here. Don't let the money fool you. Okay? That because you get that money doesn't mean you have built an elite resume. Lamar Jackson has put an elite resume, but he still has to win. Personally, Lamar at 26 has done more and almost as much as what Mahomes has done, except what? Win. And I'm not just talking about regular season games. I'm talking about games that matter. Games that you have to win if you're going to be considered that. Money can't buy you elite. Your actions on the field have to, and your consistency has to. What makes Tom Brady is every single year he goes out, he chops wood, he goes in, he goes out, he goes in. Tom Brady is gauged by what he does in the postseason, as Mahomes is, and now what Hurts is going to be. Hurts is now in the room where regular seasons are fine and dandy. You see, why is everybody disappointed in Dak Prescott? Dak got the money. Dak wins regular season games. Shit, he owns the Eagles. Gets in the postseason, lays a turd. Lays a turd. Son, you got to win. And I mean games that matter. Games that put your team in a position to win the ultimate prize. Everybody wants to win the very last game of the year. Only few can. That's what we're talking about with upper shelf guys. And now that Jalen is in that pool of players, I don't know how you guys agree with me on this, don't agree with me on this, but dude, now that you're being compared against Michael Jordan, and Mahomes is the Michael Jordan right now of the NFL, you're not being compared to Baker Mayfield. You're not being compared. You're being compared to the guy in Kansas City now. And you've got to live up to that every year, not 1 year, not 2 years. Burrow's got to continue to elevate his game. And get this, the Bengals have to continue to elevate their game around him. Boy, I'll tell you something, man. One thing I will give the Eagles, everybody is rowing in the same direction. And I can't tell you how important that is for a player. Did you hear what's going on? Dude, to show you how great Philly is and how they dealt with this Jalen Hurts contract. Did you hear what Tom Telesco said this morning? Tom Telesco, the general manager of the Chargers, came out and said this. Yeah, we have no update on the contract talks with Justin Herbert. Have you began them? Have you started talking about it? Dude, you're going to have to pay that guy $55 million. What's the holdup? You know what the holdup is? Got a shitty organization and an unqualified head coach with a good GM, but they don't have all the pieces there like they do in Philly. They do not have all the pieces. Okay? Bruce, you can call... Your definition is different than mine. We'll agree to disagree. All good. I don't care what you think. Jalen has not become elite yet. Kyler Murray got his money. Only thing Jalen did was he was on a football team that went to the Super Bowl. Garoppolo did that. Big deal. Garoppolo's got a hell of a win percentage. I wouldn't consider him elite. Well, Jalen does more. Okay. We got to win in the postseason, and you got to win consistently. I'm not saying that he's not trending that way. I just said it. So we'll agree to disagree. I don't see him that way because I only think there's three. You got a 4-time MVP in New York now, Mahomes in Kansas City, and I do think the kid in Cincinnati is. The rest of them are all working to become that. They're all working to become that. I'll tell you this, you turn on the radio station in Philly, I've never seen more cheerleaders in my life and not giving you the facts. There's more cheerleaders than I've ever seen before. It's quite amusing. Quite amusing. Do I think that Philly has put themselves in a position with the moves that Howie Roseman? I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm not going to cheerlead with pom. I don't do a 3-hour pom-pom show. So for me, Sills, do you think Philadelphia, do you take back what you said about them not making the playoffs? Yeah. Why? Well, because Howie limited the damage. And this might be his greatest offseason. This might be Howie's greatest offseason. Because everything is just working so well in Philly right now. The GM's kicking ass. The head coach looks like the right guy. The quarterback looks like the right guy. The freaking environment is great. Everything is lining up. The NFC East is pathetic at quarterback. It's pathetic. Sills, don't you think the NFC East is good? Daniel Jones, who knows who in Washington, and a very underachieving Dak. You call that a good quarterback division? Here's the truth. I don't know. That's about a C division. Jalen elevates the division. Jalen's starting to separate himself from Dak big time. Absolutely. Just in the way he carries himself. Just the way he carries himself. Dude, the Eagles have the best environment going right. I'm trying to think. Seattle? Maybe Seattle. Head coach, ownership looks like they're all on the same page. Give me another place. Belichick looks like, again, he's not evolving. You know, Bill Belichick might have the worst team in the AFC East. That's incredible. 4 years removed from Brady. You have the worst team in the AFC East. I think it speaks to the AFC East and how it's rapidly getting better. How's it getting better? Quarterback play. Jets, Rodgers, Allen, Buffalo, Tua when healthy. Right? You got a good-looking division. AFC East looks good. You know why? Quarterbacks. Look at the AFC West. Garoppolo, Super Bowl quarterback. Herbert, fastest guy to 15,000 yards next to Mahomes in NFL history. Russell Wilson, I do think there's a bounce back with Sean Payton in him. And you got Mahomes and Andy Reid. Come on now. Where are we going with that? Okay? I totally believe when we use the word elite quarterback, there's got to be a consistency factor and component to this when you put that evaluation in there. It can't be just like we thought of when everyone thought Carson Wentz was elite. I'm not quick to rush to that. Of all people who should know better, too, Philadelphia should know better than anyone. You should know better. Some of you should be ashamed of yourselves on how you flip-flop on how you look at elite. You all thought Carson Wentz was elite. Now you flopped out of that. And now you're on this quicker than you were with Wentz. Dude, enjoy the ride. Enjoy the ride. This kid's taking you on a better ride than what Wentz did. You know, it's funny. When I hear people saying Carson Wentz and his attitude and his cancer in the locker room, you guys weren't talking about that in 2017. That's a Monday morning quarterback conversation now. You weren't talking like that 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Neil, the Birds are starting to live up to that gold standard comment that was made almost 20 years ago. Got to get this draft right. Yeah, but I'll tell you this. Howie Roseman is elite. Howie Roseman, okay? Howie Roseman is an elite general manager. That's elite. That's elite. That contract, let me look at this. Next 4 years, they're giving him $157 million of the 255. Cap hits we've gone over. And if they cut him when he's 26, there's $50 million that they could spread out and defer out. That would be on the salary cap as dead money, which is nothing. They can defer that money out 20 years because of the new CBA. There are so many off-ramps that Howie put in this contract. They did exactly what I told you they would do with this contract, and it almost duplicates the Patrick Mahomes contract. It was team-friendly. Congratulations, Philly. You were completely right that Jalen Hurts would give you a hometown discount. He did. You know how he did? He made the contract team-friendly. The Eagles don't have a problem paying him. Most owners are not going to have a problem paying a guy like that. But most players don't want to give organizations a reason to get rid of you and make it easy to get rid. Jalen made it easy for the Eagles to feel comfortable in handing that money over to him by saying, you want to get rid of me and you think I'm not good enough? Here's your off-ramps to get rid of me. That takes gigantic onions. But then again, Jalen Hurts is believing in himself for the last 12 years. Is it a surprise? No. Kudos to him and that organization. When you look at the numbers even more so, the guy, without a doubt, made it easy for the Eagles to get rid of him if they had to. If you cut, get this. So just think what this has done. If you cut him, you've got dead cap money. You can't trade him because he's got a no trade. They're boxed into this guy. Howie Roseman has been impressive this offseason. And I'll say it. I think Howie Roseman has impressed me more this offseason than even last year when he built a Super Bowl contending team. Because he had a lot of damage control. Remember what I said yesterday? I think they're in a better place right now. Coming off that Super Bowl loss than they were in 17 coming off that Super Bowl win. They're in a better place. They're in a better place. You've got so many things working. You got the 10th pick in the draft, coming off a second place finish in the NFL. By the way, Jimmy Johnson, bottom of the hour, the owner of 2 Super Bowls and a half, and how he built the organization. I'll ask him what he thinks of Howie Roseman as GM. I'll ask him if he would draft Jalen Carter. I'll ask him if he would take Bijan. Remember, Jimmy took Emmett. Everyone questioned the Emmett selection. I know some of you don't think so, but nobody drafts a 5'9" running back at 201 to the football team and then goes on, and Jimmy looks you in the face and goes, I told you I was right. Nobody wanted Jimmy to draft him. Built a dynasty behind that running game. Turned what was an average O-line into an elite line. And you have an elite line. Why not get an elite back? The Phillies. What's up, Dan? Are You My Friend, the realest show on YouTube? With Aaron Rodgers gone, will you in this date predict Eagles going to the Super Bowl? No. I want to see. They need more work. The Phillies, they're in the 5 teams in the NFC. I didn't think they were. He limited the damage. He got both his corners back. The offense is intact outside of starting guard. It's a big deal, I think. By the way, before we get JJ on, here are the areas that I think, as we're heading into the draft Thursday, that the Eagles have to work on. They got a starting position open right now. Just to assume Cam Jurgens is going to play well there. Now look, Lane on the right, Kelsey on the left, Jalen behind. It seems it will. And do I believe that Cam can do the transition to guard? I do, because of the coach, Stoutland, and because of the people around him. I do. But there's a reason people are talking offensive line. Okay? Because they want to hedge their bets on that. Makes sense. I personally think the team needs some linebackers. Is there any in this draft? You know what I would tell you? I'm not drafting one guy in this draft at linebacker. But you know what I will do? I'll sign some unrestricted free agents that are college kids and bring them in. And I'll bring a ton of them in. And maybe I find TJ Edwards again. I think the linebackers that can be drafted outside of the kid Campbell, and I think the rest of them could all go in a sandbox. And if you take them in 2, 3, 4, or 5, I think some of those kids that are going to be free agents are going to be just as good. It's not a very good talent pool of linebackers. So to me, I would just, if you like a kid from a particular program, you throw some tape on, you watch him, I'd bring him in. I don't know if I would waste a 4th rounder on a linebacking guy in this draft because it's not really deep in linebackers. They need depth on both lines. They just need to be a little deeper. Last year, you had Driscoll and Dillard as your offensive line swing guys, your Swiss Army knife guys. You don't really have that luxury right now. So to me, I think that getting a little deeper in O-line and getting deeper into D-line is something that I think could free agency and undrafted guys probably. Safety position has to be addressed. I'm not comfortable with it. I'm not comfortable with who they have at safety. I think you need an elite back. Gainwell is as productive as Miles Sanders. Again, cheerleading and waving pom-poms. If that was the case, Howie would have transitioned him in, would not have given the carries to Miles Sanders. They already knew they weren't offering Sanders. Wouldn't they have started him? Wouldn't Howie have started Kenneth Gainwell if he believed he could be the bell cow guy? Why give Sanders 260 carries then? If you believe Gainwell's better or can give you the same amount of carries. You were cheaper and you can move on and you would have gained them experience. That's not true. Or Gainwell would have been the starter. Not true. I'd like to see another backup tight end. I thought the kid they got a year ago is more of a blocking tight end. I didn't think he was bad. But I'd like to see a little more depth there at tight end. How about some depth at corner? It's a pretty deep draft at corner. I think you can get guys 2, 3, and 4 that can come in and play for you. And you can put them back there. Because guess what? Hey, if Bradbury or Slade get hurt, what are you going to do back there? What are you going to do at corner? If Slade or Bradbury gets hurt, you don't have the depth at corner right now. You might want to get a couple guys. If they get Robinson, can the Eagles be the new greatest show on turf? Hoss, if they got Bijan Robinson and put him in the backfield, you couldn't defend the Eagles, my friend. And this notion that you have to have an I formation is preposterous. I'm not changing shit. You know what I'm just changing with Derrick Henry or Bijan? I'm limiting the carries for Jalen. You're looking at this wrong. I'm trying to limit the carries for Jalen Hurts and not have any loss in production. I'm trying to extend Jalen Hurts' career. Instead of having a low ceiling for these dual threat guys, don't you want to have this guy play 10 years? You don't play 10 years when you've missed games 2 years in a row. He's not going to get healthier unless you help it. John Elway became what? The second fiddle on the Broncos when they got Terrell Davis. Who cares who gets the glory? This is about the ring, not the glory. What do you think, you play in Dallas? Dallas worries about the glory. Okay? Bijan Robinson's the best player in this draft. We need David Putney. You know the guy. Hey, guys, you know the movie Draft Day? They need special teams. All right, I'm going to